Is Pokemon investing all a load of rubbish? Well, let's see. So, Pokemon investing is an infamous term which divides Pokemon fans and collectors like nothing else. One side believes that it's a hobby and there is no investment potential. The other side can see that there is a lucrative opportunity to make some form of an income through Pokemon investing. But the reality is, if something has a proven track record of rising in value, shouldn't that be taken seriously? Now, Pokemon investing is interesting because there is proven history of products that have risen in value, and I'm going to touch on previous examples in just a moment, but there are more interesting discussions to be had related to Pokemon investing that people seem to ignore. And it really goes into the general societal conditioning and how we make sense of the world around us. Now, whether we like to admit it or not, we make sense of the world through a series of rules, and these form a structure for the way we perceive the world. And I mean, we all know these rules, right? They've been ingrained into us since we were kids. Some of these are like, go to school, get a degree, and get a good job that's secure. Work 9 to 5, have kids, raise a family, save up for retirement. Work hard, because if you work hard, you will be successful. Or, more related to the topic of this video, Pokemon cards are not an investment form. They are cardboard and just a hobby. But when these are broken down, they begin not making much sense anyway. Like, university degrees are becoming more and more useless. Having a 9 to 5 isn't actually as secure as you think, as your future is held by someone else's decision on whether or not they think you're a good employee. In fact, by focusing on a 9 to 5, you are relinquishing all control of your income and placing it in the hands of someone else, which is actually the opposite of secure. Now, I'm not telling you not to focus on a 9 to 5 or that a 9 to 5 is bad. I'm focusing more on the belief of what we are led to believe. I mean, it's a collective belief that a 9 to 5 is stable, whereas, if you look what's happening right now in the world with the tech industry and all the layoffs, everyone's at the mercy to someone else's decision. So, even working hard doesn't really equal success. I was raised, my parents were from Eastern Europe and they came here as immigrants, and they worked their fingers to the bone doing 12-hour days. And now, even Pokemon cards not being seen as a serious form of investment, this is due to cultural conditioning in what you are allowed to perceive as an investment. But what's really interesting here is if you look at the history of Pokemon products, there's actually something really unique. You see, when people think of something like Pokemon cards as investments, people can place a judgment on this due to the previous societal conditioning on what they perceive as investments, and this usually actually does them a huge disservice because individuals are more focused on arguing over the term known as Pokemon investing because the term itself strikes a nerve with a lot of people. So people resort to arguments like Pokemon cards are just cardboard and Pokemon is a hobby, not an investment, or it's just a children's card game. However, while the arguing over semantics takes place, the actual truth is avoided. And I'm going to reveal the hard truth in just a moment. However, what's important is to understand this. Pokemon products have had consistent growth over the years that follow accurate trends, and they are actually quite predictable in growth. And if you are within the hobby, you may have acquired a special skill set of specific knowledge that allows you to see what makes certain sets rise. And people within the hobby know this, and this includes knowing what Pokemon are inside the set, the rarity of these cards, the pull rates, the demand for the product, and much, much more. And also, guys, if you are interested in what makes certain Pokemon products valuable, I do cover a lot of those topics on my channel, and I'm always trying to think ahead with my videos, so feel free to subscribe to stay updated relating to these topics. However, just for a second, break free from that societal conditioning on what is deemed as an investment and consider a direct comparison, right? Let's look at Bitcoin and a Fusion Strike booster box, and we're comparing this from January 2024. Bitcoin has seen a rise from whatever, give or take, like 75 to 80% in value. A Fusion Strike booster box has also experienced a similar growth. Now, this is not a joke. If you had invested $1,000 in Bitcoin in January or $1,000 in Fusion Strike booster boxes, and you cashed out today, would your bank account understand the difference between investments, or would it just see the profit it's acquired? So the profit outcome is similar. However, the only difference is what society would perceive your decision as. The person who invested in Bitcoin would be seen as an intelligent investor, and the Fusion Strike booster box would be seen as playing around, or, that wasn't an investment, that was just dilly-dallying. Now, you could probably make the argument that you say, oh, if you bought Bitcoin before 2015, you'd be in huge profit. But you really could make that argument for a first edition Charizard or a first ed base set booster box. The amount of people who were aware that Bitcoin would rise like it did is probably the same likelihood as the people who held onto vintage booster boxes. It's an anomaly. I mean, someone traded 2 whole Bitcoins for a pizza before they knew that it was going to be valuable. Now, it did take time, but crypto is now seen as a viable investment, and a lot of people agree that it's a really solid investment. But don't forget, it wasn't always like that. It did take years of proof for people to see its value. So the question really comes is, how long will it take for people to see collectibles and Pokemon as a serious form of investing? I mean, think about it, guys. How long can something like this last where people can buy booster boxes with confidence and that they know that it will rise because of previous sets rising? It's pretty predictable growth. And Pokemon has had predictable growth over the years. If we look at previous sets, it's actually pretty likely if you buy a booster box under retail and hold, you will make profit. In fact, even the worst Pokemon sets of all time, like Steam Siege and Crimson Invasion, have seen growth. And mind you, these are the absolute worst of the worst. Like, I'm actually scraping the bottom of the barrel for bad sets. However, when you're looking at the best sets like Team Up, Evolving Skies, and Cosmic Eclipse, these have seen their price multiply 7 to 8 times their original value. So the area we need to look and focus on is specific knowledge, because specific knowledge triumphs nearly everything. Specific knowledge is one of the biggest separators of wealth amongst people. Now, I dive deep into the examples of specific knowledge in my video titled The Ultimate Pokemon Investing Guide, and I shared a story about a mentor I learned from and how his best investments were his art collection. And I actually spoke about the unique superpower he had, as he knew which artworks to pick as viable investments before they grew. This was because he had specific knowledge. So, you gotta reframe the way you think, because if someone invests in Pokemon products, waits for them to triple and then sells, isn't that an intelligent decision? I mean, the investor's money has tripled. The investor used their specific knowledge to pick the right Pokemon product and sold when their money tripled. To me, that sounds like an intelligent investment. So the problem isn't actually the outcome. The outcome was fantastic. The issue actually lies in the societal and cultural norms which have conditioned people in thinking investments can only be serious things or things that are culturally accepted as investments. But like I always said, guys, collectibles are a unique investment form, and they only benefit the individual who has specific knowledge, because specific knowledge works as a superpower in being able to identify what's a viable investment source and predict what will grow. Because the person who has collected cards for years has accumulated this specific knowledge, which puts them in an advantage. I mean, as I mentioned before in the video regarding the truth, guys, the truth is, in order to see things clearly, the best inventions and the ideas have always come from people who stray away from mainstream thought and they allow a new perspective to take place. I mean, guys, like over the last few months of making this channel, I have spoken to so many of you and, the people who follow my channel. I know a lot of you run businesses. I know a lot of you work in real estate. I know a lot of you have a growth mindset, and I know I'm speaking to an ambitious audience. And I have done a lot of personal development and listened to some of the best over the years. And a solid piece of advice I have learned is the first rule of succeeding is monitoring what media you consume, just like you would monitor the foods or the supplements that you place in your body. Because guys, the modern world has new problems and we are all learning how to navigate through this new world of advertising and information overload. We do not have a rule book for this, and it is a completely new phenomena, and our brains haven't developed to deal with the amount of information we now consume. In fact, even the best leaders and the governments haven't placed a strategy on how to deal with this new issue we now all collectively face. However, it is imperative to understand the media you consume can act like a poison if it's not checked. The issue is when you live on places like Twitter or Reddit, you are consuming information that is not for your highest good. A lot of the users are unfulfilled or live in a negative spiral, so they can feed off each other's negativity, and this can stockpile one on top of another. If I open Reddit, which I rarely do, right? The first thing I see the moment I open it is Australia is in the worst condition it's ever been. A recession is looming. Now, the problem with this is the second you consume that kind of information, your RAS, which is known as your reticular activating system in your brain, begins confirming that information. So you begin looking around the world, confirming that belief. It's like a confirmation bias. Your mind will actually begin finding information to confirm that belief. And your beliefs drive your behavior within the world. Meaning, if you believe a recession is coming and we're all doomed, you will more likely be less motivated to pursue your dreams and visions in the world, as your outlook on life seems like all hope is gone. However, guys, the opposite is also true. With the inception of the internet and a globalized economy, it has never been easier to generate income, and you are now living in the easiest time period to make money. There has never been an easier time to make your own business and earn money from multiple income streams. However, we rarely hear that, but it's pure fact. We live in the easiest time to make money in human history. Now, imagine constantly consuming that kind of content which pushes you in that direction. Instead of seeing life as hopeless, you'll begin seeing opportunity in everything you do. Then your belief will drive positive behaviors. So now it becomes a positive spiral. So both are true. However, what you consume makes the difference. And don't forget, beliefs are what drive behavior. These negative beliefs can stockpile on top of one another, and the negative beliefs can begin forming your own worldview. So when thinking of how you perceive investments, follow your own path and consume the right kind of content. Because if you let self-doubt take place and negativity impact what you truly understand, you are only doing yourself a disservice, because you are willingly giving away your own special skill set, which you have spent years learning. I mean, guys, I actually really care about making an impact for a lot of the viewers who watch my channel. And, I really want to make a positive difference in your lives. There is a great story, which I mentioned before, about specific knowledge and investing. And I actually expand really deep into that topic in this video right here. Feel free to watch that video and see the story regarding specific knowledge, which I expanded upon earlier. I also cover some great beginner tips for Pokemon investing. Even if you are experienced, it's always good to rehash the basics. Click that video, guys, and I'll see you there.